Welcome everyone to the Bruce Williams channel. I'm very excited about this video. I have the new Black Bay GMT with the Opaline dial in front of the camera on loan from Brent Miller Jewelers, a fantastic family-owned Tudor AD in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And I'd like to talk about the positives about this piece and the negatives. But before I jump into the details and my opinion, I'd like to put some context into the market here. So I know a lot of watch collectors love the Longines Hydro Conquest GMT or the Spirit Zulu Time as the top entry-level luxury True GMT. It's hard to argue against them. I think they're fantastic products for the price. Citizen, through their Miyota movement arm, they've created a caliber with a True GMT complication. So as collectors, we're starting to see multiple micro brands use a True GMT complication in their affordable watches. And that's been interesting to see because generally a True GMT complication is found in a luxury priced watch. I go to Grand Seiko and they have long made True GMT complications in their luxury priced hand assembled watches that are done in a mixture of different types of movements, high beat mechanical, spring drive, high accuracy quartz. I think they do some pretty fantastic stuff. So I consider the market and then I look at this watch and I have to say that this is arguably the top True GMT sports piece sub $5,000. And I know that's a subjective statement, but let's, take a closer look at this thing. What makes this at or near the top of the market? Isn't this just a poor man's GMT Master 2? Isn't this kind of a shameless homage to the Pan Am GMTs of 70 years ago? To those questions, I would say, no, not at all. This is very different from a GMT Master 2. This, apart from the color scheme, is very different from those Pan Am GMTs of Rolex of many decades ago. And if you're spending about $4,000 on anything, you're not buying a poor man's version of something. So I don't get those types of sentiments. I think if you think in those types of oversimplified terms, this is probably not the watch channel for you. So let's talk about what makes this good. I think it comes down to a mix of three things. One is design, two is detail, and three is quality. Now, is this perfect? No, it's not. In fact, I'm going to talk about what I think would make this watch perfect. I think there is definite room for improvement, and we'll get into that throughout the course of the video, but there is a lot to enjoy about this one, and specifically this Opaline dial configuration. Now let's start with the design. The Black Bay is excellent when it comes to the case. This 41 millimeter case, I find it not too large, but not too small. It has a good weight to it. It's classically finished with circular brushed lug tops, polished chamfered case edges, and polished case sides. The thread down coin edge crown is large. In fact, it's supersized. It's very easy to use. And the 200 meters of water resistance for a traveler's piece is far more than I'll ever need. So I look at this design, and yes, it is distinctively Rolex and Tudor. I think this one plays a bit more on the vintage side with that aluminum bezel insert, that large unprotected crown, a box-shaped sapphire crystal, and the lack of gloss finish found on elements like ceramics or lacquered elements. I think the snowflake hands here, this is just a Tudor calling card. And in my own biased opinion, it is one of the greatest sport watch hand designs of all time. It's legible, it's clean, it's distinctive. I think it works really well. In fact, I far prefer these to the Mercedes style hands of Rolex GMT Master 2s. Now, the only way I feel that this design could be better on the wrist is if it was a little bit thinner. This one measures in at 14.6 millimeters in height, which sounds pretty tall, right? It is a fairly tall sports piece. It's manageable on wrist, but if Tudor could trim it down to about 13 millimeters like the GMT Master 2. I think that would be an ideal dimension. The bezel colors are sharp. In some lights, you see that blue and red contrast that really is noticeable, while in other light situations, that navy appears black. So, depending on the light angle you're in, it almost feels like two different watches. The bezel action is crisp. The coin edging makes it easy to grip. I like the tactile feel here of this watch. But here's another criticism. It comes down to one element of this design, and it's the faux rivet style bracelet. I think that, Tudor's attempting to strengthen that vintage inspiration, but to me, it comes across as a little clunky and over the top. Now, this would be absolute perfection on a 5-link Jubilee style bracelet with a T-fit quick adjust clasp. Tudor doesn't currently offer that bracelet on this GMT, but one can hope that that is in the works. I think it would be very smart of Tudor to do. I think they would sell far more or far quicker than on this faux rivet style. And I think a lot of collectors that already own this piece would also buy the bracelet separately to add to their own Tudor GMT. Now let's talk about the second big positive now, and that comes down to the details. I really enjoy this Opaline dial. It's not a bright white, it's not in your face, but it's not dull by any means. I find this subtle, I find this refined. And, if you get this in the right angle, there's just the faintest amount of sparkle or glisten in direct sunlight, and I do enjoy seeing that. The printing is black, it's tall, it's tidy, it's crisp, it's reflective. The markers have no visible flaws, which is pretty common in watch brands sub $10,000 in retail price. I think this does look good under the macro lens. The lume is bright, it's long lasting, and I'd like to commend Tudor for not going down the predictable route of placing aged-looking, tan-colored, old radium lume on a vintage-inspired watch. I think some watch brands really take that overboard, and it hurts a good retro-inspired execution, and I'm specifically thinking of Omega with the Seamaster 300. Now, going hand in hand with the detail work is the overall quality. This GMT has a nice, hefty weight, no hot spots, very nice finish work. I also really like the snap of the ceramic bearings found within the clasp and within the flip lock. I think that this watch just feels like a premium product. It feels like a luxury priced watch. And this sentiment may anger some, but I think that this feels noticeably more solid and noticeably better finished than those excellent Longines models that I mentioned in the beginning of the video. But it should, because this retails for about $1,500 more than those pieces. Now, the movement is very solid. It's made by Kinesi. It has all of the specifications that we like to see as watch collectors, and that includes a free-sprung balance with a full balance bridge for shock stability. It has a silicone hairspring for anti-magnetism. There is a variable inertia regulation system in the balance. There is a 70-hour power reserve, a chronometer certification, which in future years may transition to being a METIS master chronometer certification. And of course, this has that excellent True GMT complication. And that simply means that the local hour hand, this beautiful snowflake hour hand, can be adjusted in 1 hour intervals independent of hacking the balance and interrupting the timekeeping, and it can go in either direction and will be easily my own favorite of the more practical complications. So this watch is accurate, it's anti-magnetic, it's robust, it has overall excellent specifications, and all things considered, I'm a little surprised that this nice of a watch can be purchased for close to $4,000. I could easily see a model like this or an evolution of this Black Bay GMT being sold in future years for $6,000 or more, and that may be the case with inflation and price increases. Now, this is solid in every aspect. It is very enjoyable to wear, and as a fan, I would just suggest a couple changes to Tudor to bring this model to perfection. It's already really strong, but how could it go to the next level? Here's my opinion. I would ditch the shield logo and adopt the original rose logo, the logo that's found in this large crown. I would thin out the case a little bit so it's close to 13 millimeters in total height. And again, I would lose this rivet style bracelet and replace it with the new 5-link Jubilee with the T-Fit clasp. And then lastly, add a little bit of ARC to the sapphire crystal. And I think you would have just the most subtle, refined, and beautiful daily driver. I think that, that potential, that hypothetical watch would rival the GMT Master 2. And I'd probably take the Tudor over a Pepsi GMT Master 2 in that type of situation. Now, a couple other things as we wrap up this video. Which dial variant do I like the most? Well, between the black and the Opaline, I lean Opaline. I think it's eye-catching, but it's also subtle. The root beer comes in at number 3 for me, but if Tudor ever was to take that root beer color scheme and drop in a champagne sunray dial, I would be all about that. And it would probably take the top spot over this excellent Opaline dial color configuration. So thank you to Brad at Brent Miller Jewelers. They are a fantastic Tudor AD in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. They're family owned. They have excellent selection. They have excellent customer service. So if you are shopping for any Tudor watch, if you're looking for a good Tudor AD, I'll leave you with Brad's contact information below. So in the comments, let me know which sub $5,000 True GMT watch is your pick in the market. Do you go Longines? Do you go Grand Seiko? Do you go with a micro brand? Do you go with this Tudor, or do you go somewhere else? Let me know below. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.